Hello, welcome to my new video. I'm going to talk about a new Necromunda campaign I've started. Cue intro.
Der Spielkanal, yet another gaming channel with no budget for animation or even a catchy tune.
So I'm sure many of you who watch this are avid fans of Necromunda. Now most people play in skirmishes, but the real joy in Necromunda is found from running a campaign where you grow your gang and you become much more attached to them. Now typically the campaigns in the book, such as Dominion campaign, whatnot, you get 1,000 credits, you build a gang however you want to build a gang, you battle for territories, and some territories give boons to your gang and whatnot. It's quite fun, it's quite good, I enjoy it. I've made a video about it previously where I did a campaign last year, and there were some things I really liked about it, but there were some things that I didn't like. And so I thought this year I would start a campaign. It started a little bit later in the year than I was hoping, but I would do a campaign where it has a much stronger narrative, and I would not have a gang within the campaign. I would just be the arbiter, so then I have a lot more control, and I haven't got to think about what my gang can do and that kind of thing. I can just kind of take a more detached perspective on it and adjust accordingly. So I'm going to take you through my campaign and the rules for it, and then I will put in some videos to show how it's going. So to start with, so when you want to found a gang for this campaign, you get to pick 6 fighters, 1 leader, 1 champion, 2 gangers and 2 dupes. So no prospects at the beginning. Now if you've got a gang that can't have dupes, like Gene Stealer Coests, then you can have 3 gangers, so you only start with 5. Also, if you have a gang where it starts off with certain equipment that it kind of has to start with, such as corpse grinders with their plates and masks, or Van Saal with their undersuits, then you lose 1 juve to sort of, help balance out the cost of that. Obviously it's not an exact science, but it's just something to help a little bit more of an equal footing at the beginning. But that cost is a one-time thing. Any future gang members that you add into your gang will start with their equipment, and there's no additional cost. So you've got your 6 fighters, and then it comes to equipping them. So everyone in the crew, all your fighters get a free knife. So something like a basic fighting knife, stabby stab stab. The whole gang, everyone gets the most basic armor that's on your list. They can't have any personal equipment, so they can't have any undersuits or suspension rigs or fancy pants jazz. Obviously this doesn't include Van Saal because they require those undersuits. You can't bring any weapon accessories either. Okay, so now you've got your gangers, you've got their armor, and you've got a basic melee weapon for each ganger. Then it comes to the guns. So you can have 1 specialist, you get 200 credits to spend on weapons to equip your specialist and 1 champ or leader. So you can only have a maximum of 1 special weapon and 1 heavy weapon in your initial roster. That 200 credits is shared between those 2 fighters. So if you put sort of, a Van Saal 180 credit multi-melter on one of those fighters, the other fighter's only going to have sort of 20 credits to get a gun with. So that's your specialist and your leader or champ kitted out. So out of your other champ or leader, they can take your best basic weapon up to about 50 credits, so it could be a good shotgun or something. If they don't have basic weapon access, or sort of corpsey boys, they can take a 50 credits melee weapon. And the rest of your gang get the cheapest basic weapon, or the cheapest pistol if they're a juve, or the cheapest melee if they're a corpse grinder. So that's your gang build. Everybody gets a HQ, which gives a boon, which is randomly assigned. So there's 6 potential boons. Everybody who submits a gang picks a number between 1 and 6. It doesn't matter if more than 1 person has the same number. And then at the start of the campaign, the first scenario, I roll to put which boon goes with which number. And some of them are better than others, but I'll put a list of them up here on the screen. So 1 gives you some grenades that you can start each battle with, another gives you some bolt pistols. It's a mixed bag. So the campaign will involve 6 narrative scenarios, and each one is available for 1 month. And you can play the scenario as many times as you want, but your result from the first time you played it is what stands for the next scenario. Additionally, you can play other battles in between, but there's a cap on the experience you can get. Each fighter can only get 3 experience from an additional battle they take part in, but you can use those additional battles to get people out of recovery, or find more equipment that you could trade at the market in in the future. Also, if you want to, you can use your gang to fight against somebody who isn't in the campaign. If you would want to use your gang anyway against, some other upstart gang, which is fine. The only danger is if you're doing that against a gang who isn't in the campaign and one of your fighters gets captured, you can't retrieve them. They're out of the game. I've also tweaked the way that you gain experience. So normally you would get experience for being part of the battle, and you get experience for killing people. Whereas traditionally you'd have to take somebody out of action straight away to get the experience. Now, if you seriously injure them and then on the recovery phase they're taken out of action, you still get the experience. I've also put all of the categories of fighters into tiers, which impacts the amount of experience you get depending on what tier you kill, what tier you take out of action. I'll just use kill and out of action interchangeably, just to, otherwise I'll just confuse myself. So the tiers are: number 1 is Juve, number 2 is Gangers, Prospects, Hive Scum, 3 is Champs, Leaders, Bounty Hunters, Assassins, and 4 is Monsters and Brutes. So if you take someone out of action on the same tier of you, it's 1 XP. If they're in a tier above you, it's additional XP per tier, up to a maximum of 3. If they're on a tier below you, it's 1 XP. If they're 2 tiers below you, it's nothing. You don't get anything for killing easy meat. So if a leader killed a Juve, he wouldn't get any XP for the kill. But if a leader killed a champ or a ganger, he'd get 1 XP. But if a Juve killed a leader, he would get 3 XP. Nice, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If you take part in the battle and you survive till the end, you gain an XP. If you're taken out of action, you retain the XP you get for taking anybody out, but you don't get the XP for surviving till the end of the battle. So you could go into a battle, kill somebody, get taken out yourself, you only get the XP for the kill, you don't for surviving till the end. You could go into a battle, not really do anything, but survive till the end and you still get something. Advancements works in the same way as it does in a normal campaign, but you can't pick skills. Whenever you're going for a skill, you can still go on a skill off my primary tree or secondary tree, but you have to roll on it. You can't choose it. In the post-battle, the succumbing to injuries if you're seriously injured is the same. Also, the rules for capturing fighters is the same, where 1 person can be captured. What I've changed really is the lasting injury table. So if you're not familiar with the lasting injuries table, anybody that was taken out of action at the end of the scenario, after you've done capturing fighters, you can roll, it's called D66, but you roll in 1 6 to do the 10s and 1 6 to do the units. So if you roll like 2 1s, it's an 11, and your fighter would miss the next battle, but they would also gain D3 experience for lessons learned. So 11 is that. 12 to 21 is a thick skull, they just come right back in the next battle, they're fine. 22 to 45, they miss the next battle but no lasting injuries. 46 to 56 is a reduction in a stat for the next battle only. 61 to 65 is a reduction in the stat but it's permanent. And 66 is Who Am I? They lose all the experience they've got in that battle, and any skills that they have access to, including innate skills, they lose in the next battle. So really, the only way you're losing a fighter in this campaign, at the beginning at least, because these rules could change as the things progress, is if they're captured and you don't manage to rescue them, or you just write them off. Okay, so there's only 2 other parts to cover really. Number 1, commerce. So usually in a campaign after each battle you can go to the market. That's not the case here. Now, due to the Upper Spire intrigue, if you've been keeping up with the campaign books, the economy is in a bit of a state of flux at the moment, and credits aren't quite worth what they were used to be. So instead, the Underhive has regressed into a bartering system. So there is a market that still pops up once a month, but it uses a scrip instead of credits, and you can trade equipment to get scrip that you can then spend in the market. So people can't go to the market after every battle, they have to wait until the designated week of the campaign, and each market will be available for 1 week. All gangs can go to the marketplace, unless the Arbiter declares that there's a reason a gang can't go to the marketplace. Additionally, the black market will become available at random periods during the campaign, but if you want to visit it, you have to actually play in a scenario, which is to help sort of simulate the unlawful nature of these gatherings. Equipment can be traded there for black market scrip, and it's usually more valuable, and there'll be other random equipment that's available there that you wouldn't get at a normal market. Similar to the traditional mechanics in that way. So that's just how the commerce works. So there's one final thing that I've introduced, which is a unique campaign action, and it is Loot Fighter. So it's a simple action, and you can perform it against any enemy fighter who is seriously injured or taken out of action. And you do a roll of a D3 and you get a piece of bonus loot. Now, if your fighter has looted somebody and is then taken out of action, they still get to retain that stuff. You only lose whatever you've looted if they're captured, then it's stripped away from them. But also, if you're in melee with somebody, if you would be entitled to a coup de grace or a consolidation move, you can replace that with a loot body instead. So you could beat somebody in melee, they're seriously injured, and instead of finishing them off, you could loot them. But obviously then there's a chance they could get up in the future, unless someone else finishes them off. If one gang flees the battlefield and they're seriously injured or out of action people that they've left behind, then the victor can roll to loot the bodies. So I've created a table of 3 items it can provide, but I would suggest that you can look at, how you would customize it and do it differently. So the next video I do to do with the campaign would be a review of how the first scenario went. So far I've got 5-6 people in the campaign, so we'll see how it goes. I think I've covered it all, but if there's anything else to add, I'll do it later, and you'll notice that I added additional things because there'll be an audio quality jump because I'll record somewhere else. But thanks for listening. I hope you follow the campaign. I'll try and do some battle reports. I did record the first scenario. It went on for a long time, and then I accidentally left my camera in manual focus and everything was blurred, so that's fucked. I'll just have to do a summary with some additional footage that I took just to show you guys how it went. But I'll do that once we've finished scenario 1 and we've moved on to scenario 2 to not spoil scenario 1 for anybody who hasn't had a chance to play it yet. Well, once again, thanks for listening and peace.